The devil is the main man. He is the ultimate evil, the #1 antagonist of the Cuphead show, as well as the game, and his terrible deeds haunt the residents of the Inkwell Isles every step. However, if you take a look at the devil's character throughout all 3 seasons, you might notice that his story arc follows a less than traditional path than you would expect from the Overlord of Hell. In fact, some might say he might not be the most evil character of the show at all, as over the course of 3 seasons, we see a different villain rise, one that is both capable of horrible actions, but also has the guise and eventually cunning to get away with it. Season 1 of the Cuphead show had a slightly rocky start. The voice acting was off, the humor wasn't catching, and overall it was around a 6 or 6.5 out of 10. Not amazing, but not entirely terrible either. Going into the second season, I had my doubts, but those were quickly put to rest as I experienced one of the fastest turnarounds of a show in history, with almost every episode and storyline being an absolute hit. Season 3 continued this trend in an amazing yet also slightly different approach to the style of the show.
And of course you can see my review on the channel, please click like, subscribe, blah blah blah.
However, one of the biggest draws of the show, and at least for me the standout voice actor and character, is the Lord of all that is evil, the Devil.
Yes, Mom and Dad, I love the devil.
Really from the start, he has been the flagship of the show, as we got his most iconic entrance in the pilot episode at the carnival. However, Season 1 Devil was mostly one note, really just setting up that he is, as the devil is generally depicted, an evil scheming prankster with a large status quo of souls to collect, hounded by his board of directors at every turn while he tries to avoid work, constantly getting electrocuted, and one of the most memorable scenes of the devil I do remember is after Mugman puts the invisible sweater on the devil, and then we see him with the sweater-shaped patch of devil fur missing. Man, this show can be hilariously brutal at times. However, I do think this is part of the reason Season 1 doesn't sit well with me. Everything was very cut and dry. It felt like a very safe first batch of episodes. Even Mugman was different, like in the baby bottle episode where he is all love and care and joy, but maybe this is the turning point for Mugman, where he starts down a dark twisting path of evil after the bottle betrays him. But even Mugman was quite tame in Season 1. Perhaps his standout moment is the memed to death pork rind scene where he and Cuphead act like the spoiled little brats they are. Now I am all for animal abuse, but the pork rind is just a simple shopkeep. He doesn't deserve this kind of torture, and this of course is another sign of Mugman slowly losing grip on his temper. Season 1 ends with the Cups getting jailed for a crime they were totally guilty of, and from there we of course get presented with Season 2 Mugman, who is just no holds barred full-on psycho. We get murder Mugman, plotting Mugman, slowly losing sanity Mugman, thirsty Mugman, and above all, my favorite, using a pitchfork to eat spaghetti Mugman. Season 2 was really just such a major turnaround from Season 1, and for most fans, Mugman's change in character was a huge part in that. Anytime he's on screen, we are wondering, is he gonna stab someone with an ice cream cone? Is he gonna be sexy cheese? Is he gonna launch his brother into orbit in a rocket cabin? Or is he gonna dress in the maid? Season 2 Devil is also different, although we don't get as much of him as I would have liked. And here's where we start to see a difference in the devil as well. At the start of the episode, release the demons. Now this episode already has the benefit of just being a great watch, but in the opening scene we see the devil reading what seems to be an anger management self-help book. However, there's an hilarious detail if you look at the actual content on the page. It seems to be written by the devil himself. There is an entire page of like copy pasta goodness about how easy it would be to become enraged by 2 brothers using a magical sweater to thwart your schemes, using terrible run-on sentences, including some typos, and overall just being an hilarious read. Kind of like my scripts.
So shall we continue in this theme discussing the concept of rage and management through the lens of the word cup and through metaphorical imagery of brothers who love one another so deeply their love produces a metaphysical defense that manifests itself into an unseen ball of yarn.
This is the devil's last-ditch, all-out effort to get that soul, and so he decides to send out his finest, second finest, third finest demons. You know the story, it doesn't work out, and at the end of the episode we get another fun detail with Stickler's audit rulebook. One of the clauses says, the auditor shall have the option to redo his signature if he doesn't like the way the letter S looks. Some fine, subtle humor. The devil is so obsessed with Cuphead that he tries to kill Stickler. And this entire episode is just a great look at how out of control the devil has become. So much so that the devil basically falls into a depressed state, laying around all day. He does find some solace in doing devilish deeds. And random thing, but we actually see Sam Sandwich from Season 3 in this episode. Glad to see that little brat cry. And everything might have been looking up for him except, you know, the whole leaving your great object of power laying against a random tree thing. So he is back to his terrible mood and fits of anger. What better way to remedy this poor devil's disposition than say going back in time for a bit of electroshock therapy? We only get a small bit of Devil screen time, but it was all seemingly in setup for the Season 3 debut and dominance, whereas the inverse happens for Mugman, who was the main draw of Season 2 and takes a bit of a backseat in Season 3. Although there were still some great moments for him. One big thing I've noticed is that while we see the Devil doing devil things like burning buildings and making children cry, he never really does anything quite as evil or on the same level as plotting the murder of your brother or dropping a piano on someone. And this continues even into the Devil-heavy focused 3rd season. To start us off, we get a Mugman murder in literally the first scene of the first episode, dropping this demon to the pits below after humiliating him. And then we get a continuation of Mugman's perpetual PTSD from Baby Bottle's betrayal, and more Mugman losing his shit at his annoying brother. Also, another great facial expression to add to my collection. We also get another episode of Mugman being able to instantly adopt a new personality when the need arises, showing a bit more of his cunning evil side. However, one complaint I do have is the season finale episodes put Mugman as more of a side character, which makes sense given how little time the episodes have, plus as a creator you don't really want to overuse certain bits. But all of this is fine because Season 3 was mainly about the Devil. And we can see he is completely disinterested in doing devil work, answering his board of directors, or making a profit. Instead, he distracts himself with acting and theatrics, messing with the cups, and in one of, if not the best episode in the series, bringing Christmas joy and cheer to children. This episode is probably the epitome of how much the Devil has changed over the series. It starts out and he is in devil mode, blasting a minion out of existence, and hating Stickler like the rest of us. But you can see how easily the Devil loses focus on his tasks when he's distracted by the nice list, and meeting Santa to get his most desired toy. The entire episode is a roller coaster of personalities for the Devil, where he starts out hating the idea of being Santa, then slowly adapts himself to the role of delivering bashed up gifts and eating so many cookies, holy. Then we get the strangest evolution of the Devil yet, where he ends up doing something nice for the cups. Of course, he reverts back to his evil ways, but we can see that also involves reverting back to a depressed state of living. And even though Henchman does a solid and helps get his spirit back up, thank you Henchman, as the season goes on, we see that it's all just distractions instead of dealing with his issues. God damn it, why do you gotta call us out like that, Cuphead show? Even the finale of the show continues this sub-arc of the Devil. He seems so focused and obsessed with getting Cuphead's soul, but he just fails again and ends up in an even sadder state. And it only seems like this trend will continue if we get more seasons. And the next big scheme of the Devil is opening up the iconic casino, which is where his main lair in the game is. Whether or not we get more seasons, I don't know if what I said before can be true about it being a non-canon prequel setup, because Miss Chalice isn't part of the gang at the start of the game anyways. When the show was first announced, while we could kind of guess what the content would be like, really gag-heavy 40s cartoon style, I didn't think it would be as, I don't know, connected as it feels? Cohesive isn't the correct term because while there's overarching arcs, some of the episodes just don't fit in properly with release order. And some endings are open-ended. Either way, I would never once thought I would see Mugman doing more evil acts than the Devil himself. And this is obviously just more signs that they are brainwashing our children. The Devil is evil and real, the Lord and Savior, oh my gosh, you will all burn in brimstone, salt and Gomorrah.